Hi everybody, it's Carl Marsh and I'm from InTheWordsOf, and today I'm speaking to Giles Alderson, who wears many hats. Director, producer, writer, actor, podcast. Have I missed anything?
No, so I don't tend to act anymore. So much going on with the acting, the producing and the podcasting, I suppose. I much prefer being on the other side of the camera at the moment. Who knows what will happen in the future, but there's so much going on that, I just enjoy that side of life.
Yeah, and you've got so much, like you say, going on. I don't know where to start. I mean, I want to talk about the podcast. I want to talk, obviously, Arthur Merlin.
Sure.
And obviously about the Dare as well, which I haven't seen the Dare. You know, I've seen Arthur Merlin. But yeah, I'll let you choose. Shall we talk about podcasts first?
Let's do it. Let's talk about podcasting first. Yeah, why not? Why not?
What was the, what sort of made you, or not made you, why did you start up in the first place?
I wanted to make a podcast about filmmaking that I didn't really know about. I wanted to make something that I wanted to inspire myself, inspire others, and to talk about films that we all had going on, that we had made. So there was 4 of us. I asked 3 other people if they'd come and host it with me, because I was kind of scared at the beginning of hosting something like that. But over time, I've realized, it's fine, I'm okay, and I can get away with it. And I think my acting training helped in some way there to just go, deal with it. People are going to give you shit. You're just going to have to keep going and accept that. But the Filmmakers Podcast came about because I wanted to help other filmmakers. And in the end, it's been a great platform for me to not only meet some amazing producers, directors, filmmakers, and that whole indie film world, but also to talk about my films as well as a sort of sounding board, but also a bit of promotion and really champion those people who helped me make mine and bring them all up, so we all work together as a whole community of indie filmmakers, and I think that's really nice.
And it's, when you listen to him, he's got a good feel. It's just, you're obviously good friends with Lucinda and Andrew and all the rest. And but when you have the guests on, it feels like you know them already. If that makes any sense. And
that's nice. Yeah. I think that's what I always wanted to convey. That it's like we have been friends for ages, even if we haven't. I mean, a lot of the time. Now, which is interesting, because I've done it for 3 years. It's got to be coming up 3 years. Gosh, 172 episodes now, and every Tuesday. There's people now coming back. So they've had another film release, so they're back on again, and that's really, really nice. And I had one guy come on who'd been inspired by the podcast to go and make a film, and went and made a film, because that's what I want it to be about. Is, like I say, inspiring and make people go out and make their film. It's kind of a mantra at the end and at the beginning. You can do this, listen to what people are saying, read the books, go to events and learn yourself, but you can do this. Go and make a film if that's what you want to do. So it's just been really, really positive. So I'm glad you said that. The idea is that it's friendly, it's warm, we all get on and have a laugh, and that's the point of it.
Yeah. Is that something that maybe is what's needed now in the film industry, where you've got to have a collective of people that get on so well? Because I know in the old days you might have had a director or producer that maybe have an ego, or maybe a bit like Stanley Kubrick, who's notorious for being hard to work with, hard to work for. But when I listen to your podcast, it's in the independent industry, it feels like everyone's got to sort of get on, because I know it can be quite tricky with budget and obviously deadlines and all the rest. Is that key to have that familiar, can you say the word, friendliness first before you get the talent? Or is it, how do you sort of work?
I don't know. I just do, I suppose. I think maybe I've got a nice enough tone that doesn't sound aggressive or threatening, and therefore they can, ease into it. I think it's just because we're going, look, we love your film, we know what you went through, we understand. So I think that helps them put someone on an even keel to go, okay, they're filmmakers too. So therefore they're not going to judge me in the way that sometimes reviewers might, or if they're doing the press junket where they're literally talking to people about the same thing about their film over and over and worried. Whereas with us, it's no, we know all that. We've heard the jargon. It was amazing and everyone was fun. No, ours is much more, how did you actually do it? What went wrong? How can people learn from that? What did you learn from that? So I think that's why the Filmmakers Podcast seems to be as successful as it is because people just open up and enjoy talking about the problems and the hard times and how they raise money and how they actually got it out there. Because for anyone to get a film out there is a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. So to have people come on and talk about that is a blessing. And I've learned so much from doing it. I mean, so much. Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I read filmmaking books all the time and I listened to filmmaking podcasts, but a lot of them were American, or there was a couple of English ones that were very good, but they didn't necessarily go into depth, or they weren't filmmakers themselves, so they didn't know how to talk. So I mean, now there's quite a few. They all pop up and stuff. A lot of people doing it, especially in lockdown. People are like, I'll do a podcast. Yeah. And then they realize how hard it is to actually do a podcast. There's a lot goes into doing one. It's a part-time job, if not full-time a lot of the time. Thinking about your guests, who you're going to get on, how you're going to have those conversations, watching their films. And I suppose that's been a good side of it. I've watched many more independent films than I probably should have been before being an independent filmmaker myself. So that's been really good. And like I say, the collaboration between everyone is incredible. I pretty much pick up the phone to nearly everyone who's been on the podcast now. And that's huge. You know, that's a really big thing. And I'm constantly sending stuff to some big producers and they're reading my work, or other directors, filmmakers are sending stuff to me. So like I say, we're building this team. And now we do the live events as well in London, the Make Your Film events. Obviously now they're online, but as soon as we get back, we'll be back to doing them live. And they're wonderful because they're networking events as well as us sitting down and chatting to filmmakers as a sort of a panel. It's also people to sit and afterwards have a drink at the bar, talk about their projects. I know many people who've met at those events who are now making films together, and that to me is what it's all about. So yeah, it's lovely.
And you know, obviously I think maybe it's something that should be used more in university, a lot of the film students to you know, even come to your events or listen to the podcast, because it gives so much advice. Because from my experience of speaking to people that are doing certain studies at university, they can wear blinkers, you know, they are sort of very naive thinking going to the film industry is going to be a swan song, you know, it's going to be all fantastic and easy life and beautiful weather, beautiful locations.
Never a problem. Money coming out their ears. Can have whatever camera and dolly you want. Yeah, sure. No. I think I agree. It's a really good point. And I know that the London Film School promote the podcast, and that's really lovely. And I mentor a couple of the people from the film school and others as well. And that is, great. But you're right, a lot don't. And I've had a few people come on the podcast who went to film schools or went to unis and said they didn't get the experience they wanted or didn't understand the trenches as much. And again, they're not all bad. Some are brilliant. You know, I can't put them down because I haven't been there myself, but I definitely recommend it to, you know, filmmakers, even if you think you know everything. I thought I knew everything. No, I do not. You know, you think you at least you go, oh no, it's all right, I'll understand that. But when you hear it from a director who literally goes from, I wrote this script, I raised the money, and my first day on set, the problems with the actors, the problems with the producers, the great things with the actors, the great things with the producers, in post, how you go through all that whole rigmarole of getting a film delivered and the changes you go through in the edit, and then actually getting it released and how that feels. You don't know that. It's impossible to know that if you haven't done it. So at least what the podcast does is give you some of that information and actually says, oh, wow, that's what they were feeling. That's what they were going through. Oh, it wasn't all roses and amazingness, you know? I've still not had a premiere for one of my films released because they've both come out quite recently and both affected by COVID, and that's your big moment. That's what you wait for. Everyone turns up and it's yay and hugs, and whether it's good or not is irrelevant. I think the point is that you achieved something massive. It's like having a wedding. It's massive achievement, and to not have that was a disappointment and a shame, but hey, that's how it is. But at the same time, like I say, filmmaking is so many different strands of thoughts and worlds and emotions that to not get that from a film school or a university or wherever it is, because there's a load of cameras in a cupboard, go shoot something, or you've got script writers there. Well, it's easy. Look at these scripts. Great fun. Your actors are often a problem, but you can cast them in. But there's nothing like actually going on set and doing it. And I recommend anyone from film school now to jump on and be a runner, be a production assistant on any film set they can get on and go, okay. That's how it really works. Yeah, absolutely. And then listen to the podcast and get massive advice from so many amazing people. My guests are amazing, honestly, to give up their time and be so honest and open about it. Even sometimes when they've not got anything to promote, is just, I thank them from the bottom of my heart. It's amazing.
Can I just say what I take from the podcast? Because
yeah, please.
I'm ex-military, so I was in the army for 12 years. And when you listen to the podcast and certain directors speaking, or producers, or yourself, or the other Lucinda, or the rest, it's a very, very military organization where you've got to be. This is going to be done this time. It's all. I mean, people in the military would probably do really well in the film industry because at times you don't work 9 to 5. You deal with the weather. All sorts, and it's like a military operation. You got to get this done, and that's what I took away from it. And being ex-military, and I could sort of think maybe I'm in the wrong industry, but I do this sort of stuff and right, But that's what I take from it, and it's people think it's going to be a 9 to 5 job. It's not. It's not. I mean, you work probably. I wouldn't say you work 24 hours a day, but I guess you work 7 days a week. 18-hour days, maybe more,
Maybe more. When you're making a film, you don't do anything else but think about that film. You can't even have time. If you're the director, producer, you can't even have time to go for a drink. Not really. You can have a quick one, but then you've got to think about your next day or the day after or the day after or the week after. And you've constantly got people asking you questions. Constantly. Do you want red or blue top? Do you want this for lunch? On Tuesday next week, we've got a problem with the location. What do you want to do about it? This actor can't do this day. They can only do this day. That means swapping these around. What do you want to do about it? Your brain is, and don't forget, you're directing the scene that's in front of you and thinking about the actor's arcs and your journey and talking to your DP. So your brain has to be so focused and on it and aware of what's going on, because you have to. And I do give this advice a lot, but even if you don't know the answer at the time, you have to pretend you do. So the best thing to do is just to say, I want the blue one. On Tuesday we'll do this. Fine. On that day we'll do this. And then later change your mind. That's fine. But normally you know the answer because it's deep inside you, and you've sort of recognized exactly what you want from your film. You know what colors you want, the shape, the size, everything about your film. So yeah, it's a lot of work. But that's interesting you say that about the military, because it's so true. If you're a production manager on a film, if you're a producer on a film, you're working out how you get camera from there to there. You're working out how to get actors from there to there. The train's going to come in at that time. Someone's got to pick them up at that time. They've got to take them to the hotel at that time. Someone's got to pick them up next morning at that time. You're exactly right. And I've read some great books on army leading, and I think it's a great way for directors to talk and be, because and maybe you'll go, oh God, no, Sergeant Major screaming at people. No, that's not how the army works. That's not how military does it. It's very much like respect and leadership, and the way you handle problems is massive in the military. You're not going to, and what I found really interesting about reading about that is the first thing you'll do is blame yourself. Because if there's a problem, it's come from you for not organizing it correctly. And I went, oh my gosh, it was eye-opening. Rather than go, yeah, but they did this and they did that. The best thing you can do and get respect from everyone and around you is just to say, yep, must have been my fault. Oh, that was my fault because I'm sorry. Okay, here's how we now need to deal with the problem. Wow. Honestly, that makes such a difference on set if you can do that. And when I read that in these military books, I was like, right. Another book on leadership that's really good is Alex Ferguson's book, The Manchester United Manager, on leadership. He's not a screamer and a baller, but he gets the respect from what he obviously has done, and the whole hairdryer treatment that at first he was very offended by, but in the end he's like, all right, cool, if they want to respect me that way. But my God, you've got to be the captain of the ship. You've got to be the leader of the ship. You've got to be swimming. You've got to be pulling that boat with your teeth through the murky waters of whatever it is to get your film done, because it can all fall apart and you cannot be seen to be sinking. So yeah, there's so much goes into a film. It's you can't even put it into a 5-minute ramble I've just done there.
Right. But talking about the films, then you obviously, let's talk about the Dare and Arthur Merlin. Which was the more difficult for you to make, with whether it be the production, the location? I know we spoke about the weather before in a previous thing about about Arthur Merlin in Wales. The weather was quite horrendous, let's just say. Let's
go with that. Let's go with horrendous. Yeah.
Well, with the Dare, I mean, which was more difficult to make, and for what reason?
Oh, wow. They're both very different films in terms of where I was for me as a person and also what was happening on set and around me. So to try and make sense of that, I produced a movie called A Serial Killer's Guide to Life, which is out now and it's just wonderful. It's on Sky Movies out on Showtime in the US and just doing really well. We made it for really very low budget. And on that, I was just producing, and I say just producing, it's very, like we said, it's military, getting people from there to there. Who cleans out the toilet ended up being me. Who does a lot of this sort of work that's actually like, really, we want to do this. And then the difference between the Dare and Arthur and Merlin was, the Dare was my first movie, so I didn't know what to expect. I'd made a feature documentary before that, and loads of long form shorts and brand media and promos. But making the Dare, because it was mine, I'd written it, I'd developed it from an idea I'd had in this room, and suddenly it was like, okay, this is really happening. And I was frightened. I was very scared of it going wrong. I was very worried that I'd be found out, that there would be an issues, and who knows. But every day was panicking, and my head was like, it was about to explode at any moment, in terms of I was still controlled, I was still in my zone, but I was wired. I was a little bit too, crazed maybe. And that's just me, my personal opinion. Whereas on Arthur and Merlin, it was still the same, but I was able to control that, to say, and trust in the end result, and trust in the edit, and trust in my performers and producers, and just go, it's all right, let them deal with it.
Yeah.
I've been so used to doing stuff on my own, as in, if I was doing a short, I'd be doing everything. I'd be calling people, I'd be ringing around, doing the call sheets, producing it, and then directing it, and then editing it, delivering it, and putting it in festival. So when suddenly you're not doing that, it's very difficult to let that go and trust in other people. So by the time Arthur and Merlin came around, I was able to do that a lot more. So that was a huge difference. The other massive difference was the Dare was pretty much shot inside. So we were inside a warm studio. I say warm, it was freezing cold, and bless the actors, it was actually freezing. We couldn't have the heaters on. Filming in the middle of winter in Bulgaria, it's snowing outside, but we couldn't have the heaters on because it was an old building, so they'd clang and bang between every someone was speaking here. So they had to turn it off, which meant the actors were freezing cold, which was really no fun. So we're all in big jackets and scarves and hats inside this studio, and the actors are in their little outfits freezing them, silly. But that was control, because you're in a studio. You can set the lights how you want. You can know where to come in and out. You know where your food's going to be. You know where the toilets are. With Arthur and Merlin, you're in the middle of a forest with no running water, no toilets, no anything else. So that becomes a major issue. And you have different problems to deal with. So would I prefer to shoot in a studio? Yeah, but the naturalness that we brought to Arthur and Merlin, that Andrew Roger, who shot both of those, DOP cinematographer for both of those movies, what he brought was something different. We shot with natural light. We didn't have any lights apart from major panic moments where it was getting too dark. We just put a bit of fill on someone's face or whatever. But we shot with natural light and candlelight, and it was a different movie. It's very raw. It's very real, as much as we could do with a movie like that. Whereas the Dare was very, very controlled, very, I can't think of the word. I'm going to say static, but that's not the word. But just really clinical and powerful. Whereas Arthur was, well, the candle could flicker, the light outside could go in and out. It was a very raw feeling. But both had their own merits, and both were different and spectacular and painful and wonderful and hurtful, and God, the best thing in the world separately, So yeah, it's hard to compare. It's basically what I'm saying.
As you know, I mean, you film most of Arthur Merlin about a mile. You obviously can't see, no one can see. It's about a mile that way from my go.
Pointing that way, yeah. Amazing.
It's that way for me. Yeah.
So that's incredible, isn't it? Yeah. So have you been to some of those places before then? Had you been to Margam Park and right?
Yeah.
And Caerphilly Castle. Wow.
Yeah. No, all the locations.
Because for me, Yeah, I was going to say, for me, it's the first time seeing them, and first, so I was bringing my vision to it as like, oh, okay, this is like, it's new for me and exciting. So therefore, I can, if I'd lived there all my life, maybe like yourself, and I'd maybe done it in a different way, or I'd been bored of seeing it. Whereas for me, it was fresh and new.
Yeah.
It's like someone from LA shooting in London, or me shooting in LA. I'm like, oh my God, the light looks amazing. Look at it. And they're going, no, it's boring. And exotic, I think, is the word we'll use. So yeah, you're right. It's amazing you live just down the road. And how was it seeing all those on screen? And could you disassociate a little bit with it?
No, I mean, obviously, without giving anything away, it's about the film plot. People have got to see the film. But no, for me, I see the locations, and it's like, yeah, that works. I know that, and I know we've spoken before, and it works really well, especially with the castle. You know, I know you had one day in there to film. Is that right?
We had 3 in total, I think. It's something like that, yeah. But it was one with the main hall, sort of my big battle scene at the end, if you like. And yeah, it just wasn't enough time. But yeah, it's a tough one. But yeah, it's gorgeous, right? I mean, the castle's gorgeous. Margam Park's gorgeous. So we really tried to utilize a lot of locations we had. And that's what you've got to do as a filmmaker, is use what's around you and hopefully get a decent price for it. And shoot the hell out of it and make it. And that castle, I mean, I pretty much used every corner I could to make it look like a different room or a different corridor or a different area. I mean, there's, like I say, you've been there, you know that there's no door through into the main hall. There's like a curtain, it goes out into the moat, and you're not allowed to use it. So what we did was we just cheated it, pretended he was looking through the curtain, and then put a fake curtain somewhere else in the castle and had him coming down there. And you're constantly doing that, but that's, your mind has to think like that. Does this work as a whole? Will people understand that? So yeah, it's the magic of movies, I suppose. But it's also, you really have to think as a filmmaker constantly and hope that it works, because you actually don't know.
Can I ask you that? I mean, how do you deal with continuity? Because I know it's something I look for when I watch a film, because I know films don't tend to be filmed in linear, you know, from start to finish. You'll film a scene, and then obviously the next scene, and you'll just edit it all down and make it work, you know, flow through. But how do you deal with continuity yourself as a director?
You have an amazing team around you, for one. But for me, I make sure you're on top of that. So my book will be filled with colors and charts. So if I know I'm shooting the first part on Tuesday, and then the next part the next week, because of you can't get in that part of the castle, or you just try and make sure on top of that, you know how the actor was feeling at that point, or what was going through, or the best take that you like, and you just try and balance that up. I kept the actors in the same clothes a lot of the time, except Guinevere. So even though really it's only the wedding stuff, it was slightly different, just so therefore you've not got an issue. Yeah. You obviously keep the hair length the same, beards the same, anything like that. So continuity wise, yeah, we had a continuity person who's on that, and they, you know, oh, the hand was up last time, or this was that. So yeah, we were allowed that luxury of someone doing that, which makes a huge difference, because you can forget. It's really easy. You say you go for lunch between the close-up and the wide. Like when you come back from lunch, you've kind of, you know, you can't really remember where the arm was, or is it the left hand? Did I look left first or right first? And you can look at playback, but that's what you have a continuity person for, to literally go, no, it's, yeah, and you're now wearing the wrong bangle. It's on the wrong hand. Why did you take it off? You know, the hat's the wrong way. Anything like that. So you're just on top of it. Continuity is something you have to be on top of, though. We've all seen some massive films with huge continuity mistakes, and if the film's good, you don't worry about it. It just jars your mind a little bit, and you as a viewer know that something's wrong, but you're not really sure what. It's the same with the eye line. If the eye line's wrong, and there's an 80-degree line in filmmaking, so if I'm shooting someone that way, so I'm looking at there, I then have to shoot the other person that way, so you can see that, so it's on the sort of diagonal angle, because otherwise if I shoot that one that way and that one over there, now it looks like they're looking in the wrong place. So it's all this kind of stuff you've learned as a filmmaker. It's not that easy to shoot film, and if you know you have to shoot on that kind of angle, which is the V angle like that, you then have to pick the best area to shoot that in, because you now can't see the other side, because you're not going around that side, unless you choose to do that with a dolly shot or whatever, and then you change everything to the other side. So you've got to constantly be thinking about your camera angles, how you're going to shoot this, why would I shoot it this way, who's in control in the scene, which actor needs to be the powerful one, so we might shoot a bit lower. All these things are in different lens. All these things go into, you know, making a movie, things that people just don't realize. It's a craft, it's an art, it's a skill, and it takes a lot of time to learn.
How did you sort of get into directing? Was it by just making shorts, or was it something you've always wanted to do, say, from college, university, and you've sort of made like home movies and then went from that? Or
I never made home movies, really. My dad had a cine camera, one of those old ones, and used to shoot bits, but I never really got into it, surprisingly, now looking back. But like, why didn't I get into that? But I was an actor for years, so that was my way in. I'd always put on plays and that I'd written, and we put them on, and I was always got frustrated with the direction or the directors who were there. I just be like, no, that's not what I mean. That's not what I want. I don't want that from the actor. And one time I just went, I'm going to do this. And I suppose I'd always directed when I was at college and uni. I'd taken over a little bit and said, okay, we'll try it this way. But it's always really hard doing that with your peers. But with the play stuff, I was hiring actors, so it was a case of I didn't really know them that well. So it was okay for me to take over. And once I'd done that, that was like, oh, I can do this. And then again, I was still acting, so I wasn't thinking about film or doing it that way. And then we made a pilot for the BBC that our team had written, and the director pulled out, and I went, well, look, I'll do it.
Yeah. And
I fell in love from that moment on, and worked from that time. I was like, I have to do this as a career. I really want to do this now. And it just took so long. Why is anyone going to take some actor seriously who wants to direct? And I had to prove myself and make lots of shorts and lots of, like say, brand media and everything I could, so I could start making feature films. And that was a lot of me writing scripts, a lot of dedication and time and effort. But it's something that I'm glad it didn't happen sooner now, because I've learned more, and you get more older and wiser, and you understand people more and understand pressure and understand, you know, everything that goes into it. So yeah, that's how I started. That's how I got into it. And yeah, but being on set as an actor, you understand how a camera turns over, in terms of you understand the hierarchy, you understand what's happening. Yeah. And it really helps me as a director that I can work with actors, because I understand what they're going through. I understand what's happening in their minds. You know, whether they've got to go through a really heartbreaking scene, I know to do that close up first rather than the wide, because if they give me it all in the wide, especially with kids, always do the close up first with kids, always, because they get tired, they get bored. Things like that you learn from doing. And hey, hopefully people can learn from listening to this and say, oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'll make sure I do that. So do the close, do the wide first, because it makes more sense for them to do that. Yeah. Because then they can see it all, but actually it's not good for the performance. They've got to keep hitting each other, or that pain and the physical energy of being either crying in a scene or fighting in a scene is ridiculously huge. And a lot of directors don't know that, and they go, why can't they do it again? Why can't you hit your mark properly? Why can't you do that? Because you've not done it. So that's why I say on the podcast a lot is, if you're a director, go do some acting classes and learn what the actors go through, and that will make you a better director. 100%.
Interesting. So that's very interesting information, because like you say, you've got to be getting the mind of the actor, you know, yourself. And but do a lot of directors, producers you've ever spoken to have done that? You know, is it that those that are in the industry, have many of them done that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think pretty much all of them have or should have, because like I say, you understand the actor side of it more. Some don't, because they're quite good at it, but those who aren't, who are very technically minded and they're great with a camera, but then they don't understand why the actor's not giving them the performance they need, or it's all about how you speak to them. And that comes from doing words and adjectives rather than just waffling about, well, in 1422, this happened and that made your character. No, that doesn't help the scene right now. They know all that. They've done their research. What are you feeling right now? Are you disappointed? Are you despondent? Play in love, play in lust, play hurt and shame, or play you've got a secret. Anything like that really help. That the actors go, I know what you mean now. But talking rubbish for them about the scene and what it means in the whole wider scope, it's just wasting valuable on-set time. So that's why you try and have as many rehearsals as possible, to have those waste of time conversations that aren't a waste of time when you're doing it in rehearsals, but they're a huge waste of time when you're on set, when the DP stood there with the camera and all your crew are getting impatient and the lighting guy's going, really? You know, come on. Why didn't you do this before? And then imagine if you start falling out with the actor over that and arguing about, no, I want it this way, because they realize the tension's getting up. And do it all before. Even if it's in the trailer before, if you've got lucky enough to have a trailer, if it's in the car, where in the car park beforehand, where you just, you know, they're slowly getting their boots on because it's raining outside and they don't want to get out. That's what, have the conversation then, not when it's pissing down with rain and now people have to be outside and you've got to have those conversations. You think your crew want to sit around listening to you lot squabble about 17th century politics? No, you want to shoot the scene. So yeah, prep as much as you can. And then go into it with an open mind. That's my advice.
And with the actors, are you a big fan of all the round table where you're on a table, do a table read? Are you a big?
Yeah, 100%. The more you can do that. And the main reason for doing that, not only will you see faults in the script, but the actors get to know each other and see how they speak and perform. And then it's less pressure when they're on set, especially if it's a small role. I've done small roles in big movies, and there's nothing worse than coming to set. You are absolutely cacking yourself. It's your big moment. Everyone else is relaxed and eased in. It's easy for them. They're like, oh, I've done this every day. Hello, mate. Yeah, no worries. Okay, cool. We're going to do the scene. And ready? And then you're going, oh. Imagine if you'd met these people before and you'd already said hello and it was much more relaxed. Come in, we've rehearsed it. Now it's much less pressure for those day players to come in and do those roles. But yeah, 100% rehearse roundtable readings. I did it with a roundtable with Arthur and Merlin.
That's why I said table, yeah.
There you go, yeah. And it was much easier then. People who had small parts or whatever then didn't feel as bad. They'd met the big people, they'd met the stars, and they'd met the exec producers and all that. And it makes you feel nice. I remember doing that for The Damned United when I was in that, and a few of the actors couldn't turn up, so I read a load of parts, and it was such a nice feeling afterwards to have the producers come up and go, that was great, you know, oh wow, you could have played any of those parts, or, you know, it's great to hear you do accents. And you just think, this is the head of BBC, this is the head of, you know, some big company, or the director. You feel great, you feel on top of the world, and that's sometimes all actors need is that little reassurance and that it's okay, you're fine. And the other bit of advice to give to most directors, and I really truly believe this, is always give a note to the actors afterwards. Even if that was, you nailed that, or I'm going to go again because of. Huge actors are sitting there waiting because they're being judged on their performance.
Yeah.
And if you're out in a room miles away, they can't hear you, and all they heard is the first AD shout action and then cut, and they're sitting there going, well, now their mind starts working overtime. Am I good enough? Did I mess that up? Was that wrong? The other actor starts looking at them funny, or they start talking amongst themselves. And it's not the place you want to be. You want to reassure your actors. And again, it's about leadership, and it's about that from the very beginning. And it's a hard thing to do, and it's really difficult being a director. But if that's what you want to do, you need to learn all that and get good at it, and make shorts, and get good at it.
And it's funny when you said about giving the feedback to the actors, because they're there to do a part to the best of their ability or above their best of their ability, but they want to know they've performed well, because everyone takes, you know, criticism or anything like that, or whether it be good or bad, well, not bad, you know, criticism's bad, or they take, you know, praise. But it's important, like you say, you've always got to give the feedback to the actor that they nailed it or they did a good part. But my question is, how do you deal with giving somebody some, not negative, but constructive feedback, whether if they've done something wrong?
Yeah, same way. You've got to really work at that and try and tap into something that triggers them. So, for instance, Lancelot on Arthur and Merlin, Tim Fellingham, he might like to know his arc in that scene. So if I'm doing a scene with him and King Arthur, he wants to know his arc. Like, how am I getting from there to the end of the scene? What am I thinking throughout that? Whereas Richard Short, who played Arthur, wanted a line, wanted a like more. You hate him. You're pissed off with him. You think he's an idiot. Type lines, type phrases that he could go, got ya, oh, cool, I'm going to play that. Do you see what I mean? So it's understanding who your actors are from the very beginning, how they like to take direction, what is it they want from you, And then when you're dealing with someone, when it's a tricky piece of directing, when you're not happy with the performance or whatever, you've really got to tap into what works for them and what is it that they're not getting.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can over direct, you can give too much information that bamboozles their head, and you got to be very careful with that with kids, otherwise they start going, on this line I'm doing this, and now I'm thinking happy thoughts, and now I'm thinking this thought. You've got to make it smooth so that it's just throw that away, forget about it, do it in your own way now, give me one for you, whatever it is that works, so you can go, okay, now I can play again. They've relaxed, they've stopped thinking too much. Because that's the main problem a lot of the time with actors, is they do overthink and think too much in the scene, and they start acting where they're going, oh, I must think like this now, oh, sad face or whatever, because they're not listening. And the best actors just sit and listen. They don't do anything. They're the best ones. You watch the big stars, they just listen. And that's what's powerful, and that's all you need sometimes. Don't worry about your lines. If you forget it, so what? I've got a shot of you now just listening, and that's cool. We can pick up your line. And that's when I'll use reactions the most. Lines. That's why a lot of major actors give away their lines, because they know their reaction is much more powerful than saying words. Words are just blah, 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 blah. Reactions, much more powerful. So yeah, you just tap into that, tap into someone's thought process and why is they might not be delivering for you what you need. And then you pray to God that they do, because you haven't got any more time, and you've only got 3 takes really for everyone in a scene. After that, you're struggling with time. Yeah, it's all timed. Your first AD has gone through the schedule with you in terms of how long each scene's going to take. And if you do more than 3 takes in with anyone, you're already now over that. You kind of want to do 1 or 2 and move on, because you've got your wides to do, or your specials, or your dolly shots, or whatever. Or you've got to relight for the other side if you're doing the dare. So yeah, you know, if you're on 6, take 6, you're now struggling. Your first AD is going, we've got to move on, which puts more pressure on the actors and more pressure on you and the DP and the focus puller and whatever else it is that was going wrong. But yeah, you've just got to fight through that and fight for what you believe will make the film better. And that's something I didn't do on the dare. Sometimes is I didn't necessarily, I go, if someone was saying, you've got to stop now, everyone's got to go for lunch, that's your last take. I sometimes did it, even though I knew that I wasn't happy enough. I'll never do that again. It's your film. At the end of the day, you're the one in the edit. You're the one that's got your name on the film. No one remembers when lunch was, or if they missed a bit. Yeah, your crew will be annoyed. Never do that if you can help it. But at the same time, if everyone's set up and you know you're never going to go back to the shot again, do one more. Do whatever it is to get the best film, because it's all about the film at the end of the day. And if you do a great film, the crew will forgive you for that lunch break or whatever it was, you know. So yeah, there's a lot goes into it. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Can I just ask you about, we've obviously mentioned the 2 Richards, and Arthur Merlin, and they're both established actors. Was there ever a time when you were filming that your mind went blank and you had to sort of, or you had to pinch yourself because they're obviously established and you were there maybe on your second feature? Was there a time where your mind went completely blank?
Maybe. But I think the good thing about the Richards, Richard Short and Richard Brake, is that Richard Short I did a play with 20 odd years ago, and it was the worst play you've ever seen. And we connected on that and had a laugh, and we stayed friends since. So I brought him on to do the dare. And there's always that worry working with friends, is I'm now, like I say, I'm in charge. I'm now the leader of you. How's this going to work? And it was brilliant. It was just the best experience and we had. Richard Brake, again, both of them are in both movies. And with Richard Brake, I remember the first time he came to do the dare, I didn't know him. He was an established star. And I wanted to make sure that first day was spot on. And I talked about the character in depth for an hour with him on the phone. And when he arrived, I talked with him again. This is how we're going to do it. And that first shot I did with him, sadly didn't make the movie in the end. But what I did was I literally got him done within 20 minutes. Beautiful Warner, off a crane, onto his face. Richard, you're a star. That's it for the day. And he was like, what? Well, that's it. Oh my God, you guys are amazing. So that we won him over straight away. So then it wasn't a problem. And like I say, asking him to come back and do Arthur and Merlin, it was such an honor that he was like, I'll do it because you're doing it. And that's really nice. So yeah, but speaking of forgetting or not forgetting or going blank. Yeah, totally. I think there's so much going on in your mind. And it doesn't matter, like I say, how much I prepared. I remember, and like I say, on the Dare, I was a little bit, manic's probably the right word, but I was definitely focused. And my mind just went blank. And I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was on set. I just went, oh, shit. My brain just stopped. Luckily, I have a great friend in my DP, Andrew Roger, as well. And I just turned to him and went, mate, I have no idea what I'm doing. And he went, you know what you're doing. You told me on the way here, we're doing the shot here that's a wide. It's pushing in onto the face on the close-up. That's your first shot, right? And I went, thank you. That got told to the first AD. Suddenly that was setting up and happening. And while that was getting set up and happening, I went and had a little word with myself outside, just literally got a breeze and thought, you're fine, and came back in powering again. So basically the moral of that story is have amazing people around you who've got your back, because everyone messes up. Everyone goes blank. Everyone has a problem. So therefore, the more you can support each other and understand that, there will be problems. This will happen. The better your set will be and the better your film will be, because there's now no one going, you messed up. Look at him. He doesn't know what he's doing. There's none of that. So yeah, whoever your DP is, he or she, whoever your producer is, he or she, you're on the same team. Your first AD, your production manager, your actors, you all have to support each other and understand that this is a team. No one person is running this. Even though you are running the ship wouldn't run without the people putting coal in the thing. The ship wouldn't run without, the flag getting hoisted up, whatever it is, the flag, the sail. I'm trying to think of metaphors. I'm sorry. My mind's gone blank. There you go.
So what's how did you deal with the budget then? I mean, it must be quite hard, for Arthur Merlin when they say they give you a certain amount of money. Mm-hmm. Do you just leave that with the producer, or do you get really involved with the spend?
You can and you can't. You can ask for things, like we got buggies, which we needed for the horses to make it look like they were on horses, because we couldn't film that close to horses. We couldn't have our DP on a horse without a safety rig. We couldn't afford stuff like that. You've seen it on the big films. They'll have a fake horse and it'll be on a truck and it'll be driving along the beach, and it just costs a fortune. You can't do that on indie films. It doesn't matter how much money you've got or not. Your money has to go in the right places. And when you're making historical action, swords aren't cheap. Costumes in that era aren't cheap. You've got to have great beards and hair, so your makeup team has to be amazing. Your costume team has to be amazing. Your production design has to be amazing, because you've got so many things that have to be right. You can't go, right, we're shooting a drama, let's go down the council estate. Well, it can look how it wants. It doesn't matter if the car's there or not. The car's got to be moved. The drain pipes have to be moved, or whatever it is. There's so much needs, handrails, lights. The ultimate look at that. So budgets, you can just ask. I asked for as much as I could get, and you sometimes push, and you get knocked back, or but at the end of the day, all I cared about was making the film better and look better, or be as good as it can be. So therefore, you just keep asking, because I need it, because I don't know how else I'm going to shoot it. I don't know how else I'm going to do that. So it's just having that relationship. Understanding, but you've got to always think about the budget and go, okay, well, that's part of my job too. I've got to know how I can shoot this, because I can't ask for a helicopter here. I can't ask for a drone here because we can't afford it, or a Steadicam here. Maybe you can have it for 2 days, and choose your 2 days wisely. And then you've got to work out your schedule to make sure you're utilizing that Steadicam that day. Otherwise, you've just got it on a 2-shot, and you're like, why did I do this?
Is there anything then you would have changed for the Dare or Arthur Merlin? Is there anything that that you're not happy with? I mean, I know it sounds really daft, because the end product, you spent so much time working on both, but is there anything you wish you could have put in there or taken out?
Oh, of course, there's always those in films. I think any filmmaker making a film thinks we're gonna get this.
Yeah.
And you end up compromising along the way because you can't have the horses that fourth day. You can't have more blood in the dare. You can't have the basement or that actor for another day because it costs too much money. So therefore you compromise and say, cool, well, we'll cut that scene down. Okay, we'll cut the top shot off. Okay, we'll not have horses, right? They'll have to walk without horses. Where have the horses gone? Whatever it is, you're constantly compromising. You know, you can't have that prop. You can't have the castle. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just making things up here, that you are compromising. So your end result is very much different from what you set it out to be, because with every film, you haven't got millions of dollars in the budget. You haven't got time to reset and go again if there's a problem. You have to take what's there. And that's where preparation comes in on a low budget indie film, on an indie film generally, or on a decent, you know, budget with the movies I've done. There's a lot goes into it.
Yeah.
You know, making A Serial Killer's Guide to Life was crazy. You know, it was really tough. If that had been a period drama, no chance. You know, because you can't. It's impossible. If Stat and the director goes, right, I'm just going to do a shot down the street now. Well, this car's got to look period, or this person in the background's got to look period. Dealing with extras is a really big thing. You know, especially on Arthur and Merlin, how to deal with that and get the right people in and the right look. It's a lot. It's a lot goes into it. So could I change anything? Sure. Would I now? Maybe. I don't know. It's too close. It's too fresh. It's too new. Has to be in 5 years and I'll say everything. I imagine, but right now, the movie's what it is. I had like I say, the team were amazing. My editor was fantastic. He really brought stuff out. The composer, Nick, made the music sail and soar, and you know, we got some good VFX in there and bits that really help, and other bits that you go, well, that we could have shot that differently. We could have been different. Or, why did it rain every day on that shot? So we couldn't get the reverse, you know. An actor gets injured or whatever, you now can't pick up that shot you wanted. Whatever it is, you're compromising constantly. So, like I say, it's a miracle any film gets made and finished and out there, and it's easy for people to just slate them and put them down. It's easy. Oh, I didn't like it. But actually, when you think about what goes into making a movie, that's when you realize how difficult it is. And you should just never slate any movie, really. It is, like I say, it's opened my eyes, wow, when I was younger, and just go, oh, that wasn't very good, was it? My God, the effort and the time for any of those films is, and no one expects their films not to be good when you go into it, ever. You go into it with massive expectations and high hopes. But you learn, and that's what I think is amazing about filmmaking, is you learn every single time, and you just go, okay, I won't do that again, or I'm looking forward to doing that again. Yeah, filmmaking is amazing, but it's so many other words I can't describe.
So what has been the best thing you've taken away from making them two films then that you're going to utilize in your future productions?
Yeah, so much. I suppose it's more to do with me being learning and understanding me and working with the right teams from the beginning, maybe. But no, it's a really tough one to say. You know, hey, I want to make a big budget movie, you know, like huge. Therefore, I'll find there'll be other problems, you know, because then you're paying everyone more, or there's more people to feed, there's more this, there's more that. And that was something on the Dare that was kind of crazy. Was, you know, the first day there was 60 odd people on set, and I'm like, where are these people? What are they doing? Why are they all here? This is incredible. And you know, you just sort of get used to that. At the end of the day, it's just you, the camera, and the actors.
Yeah,
that's it. At the end of the day, that is pretty much it. So if you get the magic in there and forget all the other stuff that's going on, the balagan and the craziness that is happening off camera, if you can ignore that as much as possible and just concentrate on the camera, the actors, and you might get away with a decent film, because you can get bogged down in all that so easily.
Yeah. How do you deal with any sort of knockbacks then when you're on set? I mean, obviously, you know, you must be a daily or an hourly or even in minute, you know, occurrence where there's always something that's going to go wrong or has gone wrong. How do you sort of deal with this? Because of the team around you, or do you sort of then take it in your head and then just get so stressed and then you sort of then calm and then you just delegate or what?
Yeah, you choose your battles. You choose your battles because you can't kick off every time. You can't get mad every time. You just can't. You have to choose when to do that because things will go wrong. You know, it's indie films. Everything's going to go wrong. Expect it to go wrong and then go, okay, how do we get over this hurdle? How do we compromise? How do we make this problem go away? Yeah, so the best way to deal with it is to just talk about it. Okay, what went wrong? Okay, how can we rectify it? And that's why I love to tell all my teams, my HODs, heads of department, the first thing is, if you've got a problem, if there's an issue with the costume, if there's an issue with tomorrow's set, whatever the hell it is, come to me and say, there's a problem, but here's what. Do you like this one or this one? Then I've got a choice. Otherwise, you come to me and say, hey, we've got a problem. We've not got this tomorrow. Yeah. I go, what do you want me to do? I'm literally shooting this scene. Now I've got an actor, the camera's waiting for you to talk to me. What am I supposed to do? Yeah. So it's the Danny Boyle method, is come to me with solutions rather than problems, because I can't, how many problems a day you can deal with is just too many. So come to me with solutions. Now we're okay. We can move forward. It's disappointing, but you move forward. So that's how you deal with it. You just do it the best way you can. And you know what? Some people do get fired from movies. It does happen. Yeah. Job's not good enough. We're not happy. Yeah. We need to move on because we need to be at this level. And don't be afraid to do that either. Don't be afraid to make sure your best team is around you and you're on the same page, and talking to your team from the off as well, showing them your mood reels and your vision packs and what colors you wanted and the themes and the everything, all that. The more you can do that, the more they understand what you're trying to do. If you keep that from them, they don't understand. And that's something I didn't do on the Dare as much, and I did much more on Arthur and Merlin, and I'll do much more on the next one. You know, keeping everyone informed, having a little speech at the beginning of every day. This is what we're doing today, kids. This is what we're doing tomorrow. Brilliant. Have a great day. You know, any problems now, put your hands up. Did you bring that prop? Did you bring that costume? Did you bring that? Right. Someone needs to go get it now. You know what I mean? All those type of things should happen as soon as everyone arrives at 8 a.m. Then the problems will go away, hopefully, and not turn up at 4 p.m. when it's getting dark and you need to shoot the scene. Oh, I didn't realize you wanted that costume. I didn't realize you wanted that prop, or, oh, that actor needs to be here. And that's just preparation. It's very rare that happens. I'm saying that's, as long as you're prepped, you talk to your production designer and your first AD and your producer, all this should have been sorted out. And timings, like I say, it's run like a military operation. And the more you can learn that, the better.
Yeah. And if I can just go back to the podcast in Arthur Merlin, I think I sent a tweet out earlier. I know you saw it.
You did. Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
I think it's important that people listen to the podcast around Arthur and Merlin, because it makes you realise the blood, gut, sweat, everything that went into making it. Yeah. And it's just, I took more from, I mean, I obviously saw the film first and listened to the podcast after, because obviously the film was really, you know, I saw the film.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think anyone watching this, do listen to the podcast and then see the film. Or if you've seen the film, listen to the podcast and then watch the film again. You'll get so much more from it.
Bless you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm proud of that podcast. It was a real effort to make, I'll be honest. Because normally I'll just do an interview with one person like yourself now, and you can edit that together in one go. Well, I had, how many? I don't know. There must have been 15 people, and they're all on different formats of Skype, Zoom, even Squadcast I tried at one point. And then you've got to edit that together, and everyone's on different timelines. It's a nightmare. So I'm proud of it, because not only is it our longest podcast, and there's two of them, and they're both the longest podcast we've ever had. What it does do is it gives you a warts and all, pretty much. I mean, we didn't go into too much detail, but what it does give you is how the films came about, what happens on set, what people's problems are, how they overcame them, how we worked as a team. And it goes all the way through to delivery and the film coming out, you know. So, yeah, it's a pretty much warts and all of how to make a film. You know, I'm sure there'll be another version of that in 5 years' time when we can all really speak freely. but I think everyone was quite honest and open about it as much as they could be. It was like, say, when I'm 80, that I can, you know, if I see one of those crew members, actors, whatever, you can give them a hug. And you connected so much from that, because what you go through when making a film is unbelievable. You cannot be closer. You cannot be further apart. You cannot be more of a team. It's just the best feeling, and you'll always forever be in each other's lives because of it. And that movie will never go away. You know, hey, maybe it'll get discontinued, whatever. But my point is, you'll be able to look that up. Someone will be able to find that. And that's a special thing. Not everyone gets that, you know. It's, you've made a movie and it's out there, and yeah, that's an incredible feeling.
And do you think there'll be any premieres for any of the films this year? I mean, also, I know the films are out now. Well, the Dare's out later in the year, isn't it? I think every year.
Yeah, well, this is interesting. The Dare's out in the US and Canada, and I think we're in the Brazil cinemas now, and it was in Hong Kong cinemas last week, and we did really well in Holland cinemas.
Yeah.
But the UK aren't putting it out until October. Lionsgate picked it up, and I was like, great, you're going to release it at the same time as the US? And they went, no, we're doing it at Halloween. I was like, okay. So if I can have some sort of premiere, it won't be a premiere, it'll probably be a screening. There's a couple of festivals circling, and I might do a conjunction and get some of the actors who are still here. A lot are in LA, they're doing well, a lot are around. All my crew are Bulgarians, so they're not coming, you know. So either way, I think it'd be nice to just have a screening of it somewhere. But yeah, it's coming out in October, so I'm looking forward to that, you know. And it'll be my third film out in a year, which is crazy because they're all filmed totally different years. So that's, again, it's filmmaking. It's how it works. It's a really weird thing. Yeah.
And what's next for you then? I mean, obviously the last question because I can talk all day. And what's next for you after these? Obviously, two are out.
Yeah, what's next is a funny one because obviously what's happening with COVID is stopped a lot of things. Probably should have been in Texas now doing a Shakespeare feature, or I could be doing a musical feature, which I've been offered, so that could have happened by now. And what's really nice is a couple of the offers have come forward of other movies, so, and I've got my own script that I've written as well with a friend of mine called Noel, and that's a really fun romantic comedy. So again, very different genres and very different takes, but it's something I'm passionate about and want to make, and I've spent a long time writing it and developing it and getting it to a good place. And then there's the talk of the Dare sequel. So who knows? It's all who knows at the moment.
Yeah.
There's stuff I can't talk about really when people say that. But do you know what? You don't fix it. And you also don't want to say, hey, I'm doing this next. And it doesn't happen. It's frustrating for everyone involved, more me. But there's things, and I'm just desperate to get back on set, basically. If any of those 3 or 4 or 5 or up to 10 that I've got in development go, I'll be over them. Bit of TV as well, that might happen. Okay. Again, let's see. I'm in a better place now because I've made a couple of movies. It's slightly easier to get other movies made. I say easier, sometimes not. But my problem before was I'd not made a movie. So people were like, yeah, we love the project, but you've not made a movie. So why not make one? So again, the bit of advice I could give to filmmakers is just go shoot a movie. Don't worry if it's not, you know, your blockbuster movie. Don't worry if it's not amazing. The more likely you are going to go get a movie that is amazing with budget is by making a movie. Because if a producer like me or bigger producers see that you've gone through the trenches and you've spent your time and you've managed to do it because it's really difficult, then they go, oh, well, they've made a movie. They understand that process. Yeah. And if it's any good, if it's semi-decent, you don't even have to put it out if you don't want. Though these days, it's much easier to put a movie out. You can do it yourself. You're more likely to get hired for the next one. That's my opinion. It's not everyone's journey, but that's mine.
It's all about content, isn't it? You know, you got the experience of being on the set and getting the films made, and so it's your best advice for anybody who's interested in making films is to make films. Yep,
totally, Carl. It couldn't be further from the truth. Go make a film. Go do it. Be inspired and get off your ass and get a friend to write a script if you can't. Get a friend with a camera if you can't. But I tell you what, you can find plenty of writers online, find plenty of DPs online, and you can easily find actors online. So there's nothing stopping you. It's only you. So if you want to go make a film, go make a film. Stop talking about it and go do it.
Yeah. I say thank you, Giles, for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Very, 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 very informative. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure, Carl. Honestly, you know, I love to help filmmakers if I can, and it's always good to talk, you know, how films get made. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and coming from are you in the attic? It's an amazing sort of setting you've got there.
Yes, my attic come office. Yeah, turned it into a space where I can be, and all sorts of rubbish everywhere. But I need to tidy up this afternoon, actually. But yeah,
It's better than my wine. So next time I'll get a better signal. Again, I'm always getting signal issues. But anyone watching it, Giles is talking. If his face freezes a couple of times, you can still hear his voice, and it's But yeah, well, thank you for watching. Well, thank you, Giles. Thank you.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Cheers, buddy.